A big part of any competitive game is its team play, and the finals is no exception. Since the launch of the game, many different strategies and metas were formed, and many people developed their own pre-made teams to best support their playstyles. Having a dedicated team, especially in the competitive scene, is one of the best ways to make games feel easier and ultimately make it to the finals. But what about the solo queue warriors? Hi, my name's Nova. I've got over 600 hours in the finals, and I'll be your announcer today. As someone who has solo queued since Season 1 all the way up until Season 6, solo queuing truly feels like you're playing the slot machines. Sometimes you get great teammates that mesh really well together, and other times you get paired with little Timmy that thinks he's top 500, but in reality hasn't made it out of Dirt 4. There were many times where I would gain thousands of RS over the course of several hours, just to lose it all within a couple of bad games. So why did I subject myself to torture like that? Well, for starters, I'm very socially awkward, so talking to people that I don't know has never been my strong suit. In most cases, talking to a brick wall would probably produce better results than trying to get a response out of me. I also didn't really have any friends that played the game on a competitive level, so I always just forced myself to solo queue because I wanted the cool shiny diamond skids that produce a ungodly amount of serotonin in my singular brain cell. I may have endured pain and suffering, but it was all worth it to see my snazzy new pew pew. All jokes aside, I imagine that most people solo queue for similar reasons. The finals has never been the most popular game, so finding people that you mesh with isn't always the easiest, especially when you sometimes play a different class in order to avoid having too many of a specific one. Yes, Triple Light, I'm looking at you. So how does one survive the solo queue experience? Well, there's a couple key things that I think truly matter, especially if you aren't planning on using any form of communication other than pings. The first thing I can suggest is making sure that you are playing on your team, especially if you are the one solo queuing. Getting picked off early in a fight because you were alone heavily impacts your team. Numbers matter a lot, and your teammates may not notice that you need help, or simply can't help you if you play too far off from them. I don't know how many times that I've seen people play far off from their team, only for them to watch them die and then attempt to 1v3. Thankfully in higher tier lobbies this becomes less and less common, but for those still learning the game in the lower ranks, teamwork leaves a lot to be desired, and solo queuing makes this even more true. Another important thing is to analyze how your teammates play. If you notice that your team tends to play a lot more reserved, try to match that. If they tend to play more aggressively, push with them. For example, if your team is running mines, goo gun, heal beam, and things that just work better for stalling, they probably tend to play a lot slower and on more of the defensive end. Now, if they're running things like zipline, jump pad, winch claw, or anything that suggests aggressive playstyles, be ready to support their pushes. The team needs to decide together what the plan is, and if everyone's trying to do something different, your fights typically don't go very well. Lastly, I would say if nothing else, just stay positive. Believe it or not, keeping the vibes high is super important, especially when solo queuing. Going into it, you should not be expecting to win every match, and if you're being too hard on yourself or your teammates, it can definitely show in the gameplay. From my own personal experience, my best games are typically when I'm in the best mood, and I'm sure my friends would agree with me on that. There are days where I'm simply just not up for it, and if you yourself are having one of those days, don't force it. It's okay not to play the game, especially if you're not at your best. If you're on a losing streak, saying the good old phrase, "we can't end on a loss," usually is not the best way to prevent yourself from dropping further. Now, all this being said, there are some good things that come out of playing solo. For one, it teaches you how to make decisions for yourself. You should never be too reliant on your teammates, and in cases where you are the last alive, you need to be able to make those crucial decisions on your own. You should always be thinking of your next move, and I sometimes see people freeze up or make just terrible decisions when they're alone, but that's okay. Even if you end up failing, you learn from the mistakes you make, and running solo is the best way to learn from your own mistakes, not your team's. On top of that, when you solo queue, you also get the opportunity to switch things up a lot more. One of the best ways to learn the game is to play every single class and experiment with everything. Playing in a stack, your team usually has dedicated predetermined roles for each player, but when you solo queue, you're going to run into tons of different people that play tons of different ways. One game you might play as a light, the next a heavy, and so on and so forth. Experimenting to find out what works best for you and being able to be flexible are great ways to grow within the game. Before I get to the end of the video, I just want to say if that you're able to find a group to play with, I highly recommend it. For me, I met Shadow, aka Colgate, just by randomly queuing into him a couple games in a row, and through Shadow, I also met Tano, who was extremely shy at first, but is probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met. Playing the game with them truly feels like a whole different experience, and now I almost run ranked with them exclusively. We were able to find a comp and playstyles that worked for us, and we're almost able to make it to Ruby last season because of it. And just for quick reference, I would usually stop at around Diamond 4 due to burnout when solo queuing. On top of that though, we've just become really great friends, and again, I can't say just how much they mean to me. Finding a group that works for you really brings out the best in the game, and I hope that everyone is able to find that in time. That's all I have for today though, so if you liked the video, feel free to support me in any way that you see fit. Whether that's leaving a like, a comment, or if you truly feel I'm worth your time, why not subscribe? I do have a Discord server in the works that I have very high hopes for, and I hope to have more information on that soon. The goal for the server is to have as many finals content creators in it as possible, and have it be a hub for subscribers to find other creators and be a part of a big community. Now, I don't have an exact date for when this will drop, so be sure to keep your notifications on for when I post a link on my channel. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the finals. Take care.